Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eat More Cereal, episode 3. There are three of them. There are three of them now, Dar.
I don't know.
And whoa, Dar.
Whoa.
That's crazy. It's episode 3. I thought I heard a third voice. Is that? Wait, wait.
The introduction.
Whoa.
Oh, it's supposed to be a surprise. Hi, I'm here.
Welcome to episode 3, where we have a third member, a third guest for Eat More Cereal, your one-stop shop for gaming extravagance and random rants about cereal and video games that you shouldn't care about, but you will care about nonetheless. So, I am ET, as you would know if you had seen the previous 2 episodes, and Dar is here as well from the other episodes, which is crazy. Yep. I didn't think he'd be back.
No, neither did I, honestly.
That's great to hear, Dar. So, yeah, Dar and I are here, as per usual, but as we mentioned, we do have a third guest. I'd like to introduce our good friend Jackson, who is also a very big fan of both video games and cereal. So Jackson, please give us a brief introduction about your experience playing video games and anything you would like the audience to know.
Yes. Hello, I'm Jackson. This podcast thought it wasn't diverse enough, so we needed a third white man. Wait. Can we start over?
Just keep it rolling. Keep going. You got it. You're fine. We're doing great.
I don't know nearly as much as these fine individuals about video games. I mostly stick to Nintendo and whatever the hell they decide to put on PC. But I'm a big fan. I've always been super invested, and I would love to discuss cereal also and video games with the both of you.
Oh, that's great to hear. Great to hear.
Thank you. In an entirely clean and unscuffed way.
Of course. It wouldn't be Eats More Cereal if it wasn't the most pristine, logical, and I don't have a third adjective. Dar, talk about news.
Okay, so lately, recently there's been a ton of news regarding just gaming in general. This is
very true.
Of the time of the year when that mainly happens, with the Xbox showcase, which was yesterday from when we were recording. When we're recording right now, and the Summer Games Fest, which was
2 days ago. I think it was the day before.
It was 2 or 3. There also was a Sony PlayStation showcase like a week ago. My favorite thing, probably, that I'm really happy about is, which got announced at the Sony thing about a week ago, is the Spider-Man PS4 game coming to PC. I've been wanting to play that game since it came out, and I've never really had any reason to buy a PlayStation. So I'm just happy I can play the game in August. I'm just very excited.
Yeah.
It was definitely a very good move to move it to PC. Because I have a PC and I don't have a PlayStation. So I think it was a fantastic business move.
I agree wholeheartedly, because I also don't have a PlayStation.
Also, I just think it's gonna make so much money.
Yeah.
It's such a great game from what I've heard, and it's like an iconic character too. So
I mean, Sony's been doing that a lot. Sony's been putting a lot of their exclusives on PC now. And it's kind of crazy, because we were talking in, I think, episode 1 about just exclusivity and game exclusives for consoles, and now PlayStation was that's what they had over Xbox, was that they had a lot of really, really good first party exclusives to their name, and now they're just throwing it on PC. And also Xbox too, if you count Persona. But
and I mean Hollow Knight. Yeah, I mean, it's exclusivity is now just sort of a Nintendo thing, which is kind of odd, but that's sort of how they do things. The only thing they've got.
Yeah, that's you don't really beat Sony and Microsoft in any other department other than their exclusives. But in terms of what I thought was super exciting and really fun to see was the Devolver showcase.
Oh yeah, I actually wasn't able to watch that one.
I am always a big fan of Devolver games. As we'll talk about in this game, not this game, this episode, indie games. That's sort of the main premise of this episode. Spoiler, that is what the episode is about. But
In
Devolver,
case you didn't read the title.
in case you didn't read the title and you just happen to be eating your cereal. All right. So
No, I mean, they clicked on a random podcast and they got
exactly.
this.
I mean, yeah. You
What?
could do, you know, you could do better, but you know, we're not gonna complain. So anyway,
This is about
Devolver.
cereal.
Devolver. So Devolver always has some incredible indie titles that they publish. And I'm always a huge fan of them. And they announced 2 games that I thought were amazing. It was the Plucky Squire, which is like this weird 2D 3D hybrid like adventure game, including a bunch of aspects from like older titles like Punch Out and like all these cool gameplay mechanics from other games. And it's a really charming game. It looks really good. It looks really fun to play, and I really want to see how it looks just on PC and just, you know, playing through and seeing the different art styles and the gameplay styles clash. I always love games that do innovative stuff like that. And then the other Devolver game I'd like to bring up is Skate Story, which looks insane because it's like this weird Tony Hawk in the underworld. You are like a super hot looking character. Like it looks insane. It looks like a fever dream, but it looks amazing. It's like a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, but in like these weird environments with really cool music in the background. It just looks cool. It just looks like a cool game, and I just want to skateboard in the underworld and like be a weird mirror person. That looks really, really fun. And I don't know. I just really like Devolver. I think they always put out really, really good titles, and I am very excited to play these 2. So
One thing I love about Devolver is it's all of the content that they push out is
Oh, yeah.
just so
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
wildly different in like concept and aesthetic.
yeah.
And I'm definitely going to talk about this a little bit more, but it's with Devolver games, I feel like on my very, very important opinion, everyone
course.
should listen to me.
True.
Okay. Yeah, true.
They're easily the producer that always like makes these trailers that I'm actually like interested in.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, they
Yeah.
always seem so self-aware of what they're doing. Like, they are probably one of the most self-aware publishers out there that just...
Yeah.
They always have these really funny showcases whenever they do these, you know, big game reveals and stuff like that. They always have, like, a bunch of, like, skits and stuff to go along with it. And you don't really see that from other publishers and developers and stuff nowadays. So it's just really cool. Good breath of fresh air.
No, yeah, I think it's really great, especially like even seeing their showcases and their trailers, even when like E3 was a thing, when they had their own lock, I guess, at
Yeah.
the time. Like they always made it into like a complete skit of like a show rather than where Xbox would kind of just walk up and
Game
they would
after
kinda just
game
start
after game
showing
after
a
game. Yeah.
yeah, which isn't like horrible, but I think
It's
having
2 different
skits
styles.
involved- yeah, and I also prefer honestly having like skits involved in showcases, because it adds more like creativity and it kind of removes the flow of just game after, like you're saying, game after game after game after game.
It's more of a show.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember the one where they announced Fall Guys, and I don't remember any other game, but I remember the entire. I'm just gonna call it a direct. I'm not sure if they called it that, but the entire direct was just like slowly turning into a slasher flick.
Yeah, I remember that
It
one.
was-
Oh, I don't remember that. No.
That
And
was
It's
insane.
like you brought up the super awesome point. The only reason I remembered that was because what other direct has the
That's-
hosts
yeah.
killing
Yeah.
each other?
it
It
is
was awesome.
they've got some great writers behind the scenes. I huge props to them for that, honestly.
They're definitely using it to their advantage because no one else does it. Like no one else tries to like change the format
Yeah.
of it, other than maybe like Summer Games Fest, which like has like mini stuff in between, but not like to the extent that Devolver usually does.
Devolver has a full structured skit and like story, and it's a lot. Like you can tell they put a lot of effort into making it entertaining.
100%.
No, Doug. I'm gonna need to have a heart to heart with you. I need you. I absolutely need you.
Yeah.
To tell me what your favorite announcement of Summer Games Fest was.
Of Summer Games Fest.
Or any of the past week.
Probably the Starfield news. That was probably Starfield is a space RPG.
A Star PG, if you will. Yeah.
Being developed by Bethesda in-house. Yeah, no, in-house.
Or in space even, yeah.
Ooh, space.
Yeah, sorry, there
was no like news of it before. Like, I mean, there was. Like,
we talked about it. Like, we talked about it, in the first episode about how it was delayed.
It was delayed into 2023, but now
we know why.
From it. Yeah, exactly. But it looks good. Like, I'm excited.
It does look good.
And I think that was probably my favorite thing. There were obviously some stuff that didn't get shown, but that was probably my favorite thing. So now Jackson.
What about you?
Well, what were yours?
Unfortunately, I gotta be real with you. All of these games showcased happened dead set in the middle of my past couple of work shifts. So I didn't get the live experience, but I did manage to catch finally news about Hollow Knight Silksong.
That's where you're wrong. Hollow Knight Silksong does not exist.
It's just a mass hysteria conjured by Hollow Knight fans.
They've just fully convinced themselves that it exists, even though
you said they would.
Honestly.
And I can't make too many jokes about how long it's taken, because I only just got into Hollow Knight about like a year ago. But when I got into it, I got into it.
Yeah.
And there was a solid 2 months chunk of time where it was the only thing I'd play. So I just to be able to experience something even similar to that for the first time again, I'm really excited.
I mean, yeah, people have been waiting. I don't even know how long it's been since we last got actual news about Silksong. It's been years. I know that.
I think the last smidgen of an update was in 2019.
Oh my god.
I just looked it up, and it was announced. Silksong was announced in February 2019.
Oh wow. 3 years.
That is crazy.
It looks great. I mean, it's Hollow Knight. It is a beautiful game.
I mean, I've actually never played.
Dar, you've never played Hollow Knight.
No, I haven't.
Dar, I find it extremely disrespectful that you don't have the same precise game taste as I do.
I apologize.
But if you're into any of the various genres that Hollow Knight borrows from, I think it's so a slow
good.
start, but when you get
it's tough too. It's when I first played Hollow Knight, I went in expecting just sort of I was expecting something similar to Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Because Ori is a pretty easygoing. It's not that crazy difficult, honestly. On your first playthrough, Hollow Knight is so much more. It is a tough game. It is a genuinely tough game to get through on your first playthrough if you have no idea what you're doing. But it also does a great job of just rewarding you for learning how to play the game and actually respecting your time. And it's just, I don't know. It's a really good game. I will always recommend Hollow Knight to anyone who hasn't played Hollow Knight, aka Dar, the one person in this call who has not played Hollow Knight.
Yeah, that is exactly.
And there are a lot of people in this call, so you should feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no,
3. There's 3.
I feel horrible right now.
Oh man. All right, so that's the news for the week. Honestly, we could.
literally only the main stuff right now.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on.
Persona 2. That's pretty interesting.
True, Persona as a whole going to something that isn't PlayStation is
Persona
kind of
is for
insane.
its own episode.
I mean, yeah, we could
Persona's its old box of worms.
like we could spend hours just talking about all the things that were announced this week. But we don't want to take up too much of the time talking about news. We gotta talk about the main topic, Dar. Why don't you introduce us?
All right, so what we're gonna kind of talk about today is indie games, which are, if you don't really get it, even though
you wouldn't get it. It's
but it's basically just a game that's kind of developed by either a single or a small group of individuals. Like it's just not, it's completely different compared to like a AAA game, which is developed by like let's say like a game by Microsoft, where it has like hundreds and hundreds of people working on one game. Indie games, obviously, they have just like 2 or 3 or even like 20 or so like people just working on it.
Or what is indie short for?
Independent.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're
independent
developers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have picked a better time for that.
No.
It's true though. It's true. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the gist of indie games, right? Is that they're not comparing them to AAA, right? I mean, AAA is what most people think of when they think of video games. Like AAA games are the big, like the blockbusters, right? You got like Nintendo. Like Nintendo is a AAA game development company, right? You got like Mario and Zelda and all these really high budget, games. You got Halo. You have all these really, really big budget AAA games. The games that have like hundreds of people working on them at any given time.
Yeah.
Thousands and millions and billions and more billions of dollars just put into these games just so that they could be the best they could be. And they're honestly huge. Like most AAA games are really big games, both in terms of like space they take up on either your PC or console, like hundreds of gigabytes, which is huge. And even just the scale of the games themselves, right? You have like these AAA games. Think of games like Breath of the Wild. Think of games like Assassin's Creed, which are AAA games, right? Like these games are huge in terms of scale compared to like these smaller indie games. And I mean, that's part of the appeal of AAA games. You have tons and tons of content to go through, like hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay, because there's always just so much to do in these AAA games.
And I feel an easy way to distinguish AAA games from indie games. I've created a shorthand. If the camera view is over the shoulder, it's AAA.
Really?
If it looks like fun, it's an indie game. No, that is an intense bastardization of the entire thing.
And you call yourself a Nintendo fan.
I mean, honestly, he's probably right like 80% of the time.
No, that's true. Indie games are really good.
No, not to discredit any AAA games, because I'm, all of my favorite games of all time are AAAs. But, there's a teeny bit of truth somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think it's specifically interesting with comparing like the way that the process in a sense of indie games compared to like AAA games. Obviously with the development size, but also kind of with more of a, in my opinion at least, like a passion kind of. Because there are some games in AAA which are kind of only made because you're chasing trends. Like a game might have started off as an action game, but the publishers wanted to change it into like a battle royale, which happened a lot in the past, in like 2019 to 2020. Was that when the battle royale craze was?
Yeah, that sounds. Or maybe 2018, 2017 even. When did Fortnite come out? When was Fortnite, baby? That was 2017, right?
That was 2017.
The passage of time is infuriating.
Yeah, but what
I hate it. Yeah.
what I kind of think is interesting is that when you see a game that was created purely for maybe more like chasing trends, you can kind of see it. Like my example, at least from what I know, is this game Hyperscape. It's created by Ubisoft. It was a battle royale. I thought it kind of got created too late into the battle royale like lifespan, I
Mhm.
guess, or like
Mm.
craze. But it completely died down. And when you compare it to like an indie game that's being developed, and you see like how they talk about it and the passion behind it, I think you could just kind of see that I'm not saying that the developers on every game don't care about it, but like you can just tell that there is more creativity and like passion that was put into like the indie game
Mhm.
rather than the AAA game that was only made for like chasing trends or had to switch genres randomly.
I fully agree. And of course, not to discredit anyone that does put passion into working into AAA games,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
because of the corporate moneyness, there's
True,
a
true.
very firm filter on creativity and fun in the dev cycle.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's not just corporate greed either. Like when you think about the scale of these games, right? You have hundreds of people
They
working
kinda
on one
have to be.
game. You have people just dedicated to their specific part of development, right? You have people who are only
Mhm.
going to be graphics people only going to be modeling, people only going to be audio designers, like people only just like gameplay designers, right? You have these people who are in their own specific niche within a AAA title compared to an indie game, where if you have two people working on an indie game, you got to do it all, right? You got to you got to think of something like Stardew Valley, which was made by one
Yeah.
guy, right?
Yeah.
One guy created Stardew Valley. He did all of the gameplay, all of the coding, all of the assets, all of the audio, all the music. Like he did all of that himself, and obviously that's a ton more work than doing than you know just being focused on one specific aspect of that. But it's sort of that's where you get into the whole passion project sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
Like you were saying, Dar.
Mm.
I mean, when you have like hundreds of people working on something, yes, they are all very dedicated to making that product the best that it could be, but you still have the minds of hundreds of people all working together. So creativity is limited, as Jackson said, because you can't have hundreds of different ideas of hundreds of different people all coalescing like that, because it just won't fit within a coherent game theme. Whereas if you have
Exactly.
one or two people, you have full creative reign over the game. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want. It's your game. you
Yeah.
can literally make it anything you want because you have full creative jurisdiction and you're the one creating every aspect of that game. And that's honestly, I think, where it differs the most because of just the sheer scale in development.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you brought up Stardew Valley because
I mean, that's a big one.
it's one. First off, it's an amazing example for this topic, but also I read a book called
Stardew Valley?
No.
Almost.
Yeah. But it's called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. It's written by Jason Schreier,
Mhm.
who is a popular game journalist who works at Bloomberg right now, I think.
That sounds
Used to
right.
work
That
at
sounds right.
Kotaku.
Yeah.
Basically what the book is about is it's a bunch of chapters talking about a bunch of different games and kind of the crunch culture behind it, but there is one chapter about Stardew Valley, and Jason interviewed like the guy, and the story, he just worked like every day, and it was like his that was his job, but I mean like he wasn't really getting paid for it, so his family just kind of had to bucket on like the game coming out and actually making a bunch of money to kind of like stay afloat. It's an amazing story, and that book in general is a great read. I recommend that to anyone who likes to learn about like game development and such. But Stardew Valley is just such a great example of a complete passion project. Even especially, it's just one guy. The guy literally did everything. Like
it's crazy.
I'm amazed by that when it like comes back into my head. Like it's just crazy that how much that developer has just done for that game.
Especially considering Stardew Valley in modern day, right? Like Stardew Valley, like people forget it's an indie game. Like it is huge. Like it is on like every platform known to man. I mean, it has its own merchandise. It has like its own like board game, I think. Like it has so much surrounding it. It is a huge game. Like indie games doesn't like just because they're only made by like one or two people does not mean they aren't big. Because I mean, the best-selling game of all time, Minecraft, is an indie game.
Yeah, I mean, like when it came out, it's an indie game.
It was made by.
Now?
I mean, yeah, it's still an indie game at the end of the day. Like just because it has more people working on it doesn't mean it's still not indie, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's still the same development team, pretty much. And that's what's really weird about indie games, I feel. I mean, you have games like Stardew Valley and Minecraft, which are insanely successful, like millions and millions and millions of copies sold because they're just so popular. But then, I mean, at the end of the day, not every indie game is going to be like that. I mean, you mentioned it, Dar, but like a lot of these developers, they're putting every single ounce of their being into making this game good, and if it doesn't sell, that's it. They don't get paid. And that's what's tough about indie games, is that nowadays indie games are becoming popular, becoming a lot more like mainstream in a way, and that everyone wants to make indie games because they're seeing these games like Minecraft and Stardew, and they're like, I can do that. I can make my own indie game. And then people go, there's an oversaturation of indie games in the market, and then boom. At the end of the day, they don't sell as well because, people see, all right, this is like the 14 billionth pixel art platformer I've seen in the past, like, 2 years. I could just play any of the other, like, really highly rated pixel art platformers that have released in the past, like, 4 years and be perfectly content. Like, it's tough because being an indie developer is really, really difficult, and it's tough to really get your feet off the ground when it comes to actually finding success in that.
I think it's really I think it's really important that you did bring that up, because in the conversation, I'm going to take a very obvious stance more in support of indie games. Not that I hate AAA games. I'll eat whatever slop Nintendo decides to put on my plate.
It's mainly not the developers; it's mainly the higher ups.
Right. Yeah. But it is super interesting because a lot of the indie games I'm going to sing the praises of are a lot of games that everyone knows about already, and it's all these games that are just like indie in quotations, but have like risen to this level of contending with these long-standing franchises and at least current popularity. So it is important to understand that, at least for me, indie games are a lot more than like the smattering of games I've played.
Yeah, I mean, hey, let's talk about some specific indie games. We've talked about how they relate to AAA. Let's talk about some specific indie games and why we like them so much. Dar, you want to go first? Given that you're top of the list.
One of my all-time favorites is Slime Rancher. Slime Rancher.
Yes.
It's an amazing game.
Yes.
It makes me happy. That game is just pure wholesomeness. So if you don't know what Slime Rancher is, it's basically a game where I haven't played it in so long.
You're a rancher.
Yeah, you're a rancher, and you're basically
you're a ranch of slimes.
Ranch of slimes, yeah. And that's the whole gist of it. Like, there's other places to explore, other different types of slimes to explore, but the game is just so like wholesome and just cute, and it's
relaxing.
It's such a warming game. Like, oh my god, I'm always like so like just energetic and happy whenever I play the game, because like
I will
like,
always sing the praises.
Images of the slimes on like whatever you're listening to it on right now, and tell me that they just don't look so adorable and so happy. Man, like, it does not make, there's no way it doesn't make you happy.
I will never not sing the praises of Slime Rancher. It is one of my favorite games of all time. I wholeheartedly agree with Dar in that it is by far one of the best games to play if you're just not having a good day. If you come home from a bad day of work, if you like got a D on your math quiz or something, or like I don't know, your boss was like mean to you or something, and you come home and you're like, man, I really need to pick me up, and you boot up that game and you see the goofy little cat slime with its little tail and ears, and then you see the little honey slime and like all these little fellas, these little guys. I mean, they're just there, and you can like use your little vacuum gun and just throw them all over a place, and they're just going like Yahoo, like Mario, and they're like, like it's awesome. They're just really fun. It's really cute. You get to just sort of watch them grow, feed them food, grow the food, and it's just a relaxing game. It's a great way to spend the day, just sort of ranching, farming, and sliming.
I will say it is oddly satisfying to just pick up a slime in that game and like kind of just throw it against a rock.
I was
Because it's like,
expecting
what,
I mean,
what bad
that's
is it
true.
gonna do
That's
to
true.
I was
them?
expecting
punt
you to
it.
say off a cliff.
That too. That too.
Right, and you know,
just
sometimes there's
hang out.
cliff geometry where you can like dunk it into the pen, and it's just like, this is awesome.
It's great. They're just hanging out. It's really just it's just a fun game. It's at the end of the day, the gameplay isn't that deep. I mean, you're literally just like you're ranching slimes, right? You can feed them different foods. Like you can I guess you can like morph them. So like if you have two slimes of like different kinds, you can combine them together to make a hybrid. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. Because you can try out all the different combinations. So they all have different tastes of what kind of food they like to eat. Some like fruit, some like meat. I mean, it's really, really fun. And just playing through, like, it's a pretty bare bones story at the end of the day, but it's fun, you know. It gives some bone, like a backbone to the actual game, so it's not just miscellaneous wandering around. I mean, you actually have like goals throughout the game and all these little mini games to go through, all these environments to explore. I mean, there's that whole like desert where the sun will just burn your skin off or something. Like, it's insane. Like, it's really, really fun, but like it's just the gameplay's so engaging. I love it.
Yeah, no, I think I got it on Epic because it was free one week. And I never finished it, but I remember getting to like a temple area.
Oh yeah.
And just being like, because at that point in the game, that's the first like interesting landform that you see.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, you got your plains area, you got your desert, you got some ocean stuff. The main focus on is the different type of slimes.
Oh yeah.
But then you're starting to see like, I don't know. I just think
structures.
Even if, like, I haven't picked it up since, just seeing that like extra teeny bit of depth underneath all of it, and it's just a reminder that like so much love is put into this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, well, moving on from Slime Rancher a bit, I think my favorite kinds of indie games are just the really, really short ones. Like just games that you can beat in an afternoon. You have games like the Red Strings Club. That's another Devolver one. That one's really good. Just Air Memories of Old. That one's a really good one. A Short Hike, another classic that people love. It's just games like this, right? Games like these where it takes, I don't know, 3-4 hours max to beat the entire game. But like, because it doesn't take that long to beat, you could like, you could tell how much love and care the developers put into those specific 3 to 4 hours. Like, there's so much love, there's so much just like passion for game design in all of those games, and I could just go on and on about how amazing they are. Because as much as I love AAAs, and as much as I love having hours and hours and hundreds of hours of content, if I like, it can be overwhelming, you know? I don't want to like go into a game where there's like 400 achievements and be like, I am never going to beat this game. Like, just there's too much to do, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Like we talked about this a bit on our last episode, talking about linear and non-linear games, but just having like, what's nice about a lot of these shorter indie games is that they're very linear, and I really like linear games, and I just think they do a really good job of it. I mean, being able to just sit down, start a game and finish the game in like an afternoon, that's so nice. Just being able to dedicate an entire afternoon to playing that one game and actually feeling satisfied at the end because you've completed that game, it just makes it more of like an experience, more akin to like a movie, like an interactive movie, than like playing a full-fledged 100-hour video game. And that's what's really cool about these shorter indie games, is that they're really, really cute experiences that like are super easy to play through, and it's really, really fun.
That's something that I feel like. Oh, I'm sorry, Doc. Go.
No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. That's something I really like about. That's something I think that indie games have a leg up above AAA games with. For the most part, you know, barring of course actually needing to sell the stuff. for the most part, indie games can just be. And I think
True.
that's really cool because you brought up a short hike. And
Oh
while I
my
haven't
God.
played it myself,
Oh my God.
I have
So
watched
good.
a good couple of
The gameplay
playthroughs.
of it,
And,
yeah.
It's man.
I
I cried. I'm not gonna lie. I cried at the end of Shore Hike. It's a beautiful game.
right, because like the fact that it is a short hike, the fact that it doesn't need to be this like super long, like theatrical thing, makes the message and the point and the gameplay loop like all that much better. And I'm seeing some stuff. The AAA game that comes to mind right now. Take a shot every time we say AAA. You won't survive.
True.
Um,
True.
Uh, the one that comes to mind right now is Lego Star Wars, the
Oh yeah,
Skywalker
but
saga.
the new one that came out. It was what, a month
Yeah.
ago around at
It's
this
like
point.
2 or 3 months ago, I think.
Yeah, no, it's like recent-ish in the
It's
scheme of
still like
things.
it's still like a remake, sorta, right?
Uh,
No, they
I,
added.
I,
Or
I
they
think
added the new ones. I know that. I haven't actually
But
played
didn't
through
they
it,
make
but
like a full-on like map where you can like go to whatever planet you want depending on the game, like the movie or whatever?
right.
I heard something about that.
They,
I know they redid the combat completely.
Yeah.
I know
I,
that.
I think they may. I know that there's two. At least the way I divide it is that there are like two big sections. One of them is like open world, just do whatever the heck you want. You have an entire galaxy, go for it.
Mhm.
And then there are like the story-based missions that I do believe uses reused content. I'm no professional though, don't take my word on it. But every once in a while, I'll head over to my friend's house, and it's just like something that we have to play in the background when we like wait for everyone to get there or whatever.
yeah.
And it's really fun. It's like it's a Lego game. I'm sure you've played at least some of them. They've got a winning formula,
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
but I looked at it, and you have this UI that is filled with so much garbage.
Yep.
And what is it? The equivalent of like Mario 64 stars, the power
studs?
bricks.
hmm
There
The
are
collectibles.
1,200
Oh my god.
in the entire game. And it's
Oh
like
no.
that. Some people love that, but like I look at that, and it's like I can't even start a game that has that much in it. So it's like I really
overwhelming.
like these indie games that are just like spend 3 hours, mull it over for a bit, go on with your life because it's
Yeah.
so much easier to actually
really is.
play.
I mean,
I
yeah.
think, yeah.
Go ahead, Dar.
I wanted to bring up another game. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's called Emily is Away. It's basically.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I played the first two. There recently actually was like a new one that came out like a year ago, but it's a very straightforward, simple game developed by one guy. Basically, you're on is it AIM Messenger, the old messenger app that people use in like the 2000s?
Oh yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're on AIM, and it's basically a narrative driven where you're like texting a bunch of friends, and it's really cool. It's very short, probably like you could probably beat it at least one of the endings in like 2 hours. But it's just really well crafted, and it's so simple because the only thing you're looking at is the screen of the messaging website. That's all you're looking at in the entire game. There's different like chapters that like take place like months after each other. And the narrative is just so well driven. It's such a short game, yet it's just so well polished and such a great emotional ride. I remember when I played it the first game for the first time, I was like, I don't know, like I was just amazed. Like it's because you're not even looking at anything except one screen, basically. Like you're not moving anywhere, you're not walking anywhere. You're just looking at like you're basically the person who's looking at the messenger thing, typing to these people, the narrative story.
Yeah.
But that's probably one of my favorite. Other than Slime Rancher, probably one of my other favorite examples of those games. There's three games. But yeah, no, especially it's a very nostalgic game too. I mean, I wasn't like part of the internet or alive really technically when like that messenger app was like big, but for like a lot of people, it's really nostalgic for them. So like that's what I love about that game.
I actually want to bring up one called Luna's Fishing Garden.
I have not heard of that.
I wouldn't expect you to. I mean, it is as indie as it can get. I mean, I don't even know how many like copies it sold. It's not a crazy amount. But it's this very simple game where you are just sort of on this like it's a 2D almost like side scroller sort of game. It's a little weird. But the main premise of the game is just to fish. I mean, everyone loves fishing games and all like fishing mini games and like all these AAA games, and just fishing in general is just such a fun like game format. And it's just something about that game. It just reminds me of like the best parts of Stardew Valley. It's just so charming. The music is amazing. The characters are really well designed, and it's just a really relaxing game to play in an afternoon. And I actually interviewed the developer. It was again developed by like one or two guys from I think Norway. I'm not 100% on that. I don't want to get it wrong, but I know it's not the US.
How did you get that?
I don't remember. I think I just reached out to them after I played the game, and I was like, "Hey, can I ask you a few questions about the game?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure."
Oh, that's
it was
I love that.
it was awesome.
That's
It was
so
really
sweet.
really
Wait,
cool.
I love that. Oh my God.
And they just told me about how awesome it was to just make the game, and how just how I don't want to go into too much detail about like the interview or anything, but just hearing them be passionate about the game they created, I mean, you can't beat that. You really just can't beat that. And I'm sure like every single developer of every single indie game has that same passion that these guys had, and that's what just makes me appreciate indie games so much more. Is just seeing people enjoy the game they created. That's just it warms my heart, and I love it so much. And that's my favorite part of indie games by far.
Here's an oddball indie game. Have you guys heard of Squirrel Stapler?
You know what, Jackson? I can't say I have. I cannot say I have. Enlighten us as to what Squirrel Stapler is about. Surely it's
you staple squirrels.
Okay.
No.
Oh, really?
What?
I wouldn't know.
It's I have a tendency to talk things up a little bit. So it's no Picasso of a game. It's just I think it's really neat because it's the kind of game that like no one but indie developers can make. Because like it's like this 2-hour long game where you go out into a little forest, you hunt squirrels,
Yeah.
and then you go back home and
Yeah.
you
Yep.
staple them to some kind of carcass.
That is gruesome.
In game it's very gruesome. It's macabre as hell. But you staple them to a carcass that is inferred to be your squirrel wife, to make her beautiful.
Okay. Ah. Yes. Yeah, that sounds like an indie game.
No, if nothing else, like there's no way
Yeah,
in
you would.
hell that any AAA developer would even come close to making something like that.
Yep. And
So I think it's really neat that you have some people that are just like, I'm gonna make something.
honestly, yeah, I mean, we talk so much about like all the really cute and pretty and fun indie games and stuff, but there are so many like that are just
I think indie horror
is
probably the
really
most
really
I haven't
good.
delved
powerful
into it that
section of
much.
indie gaming.
There is a lot of just indie games that I don't know, maybe like 100 downloads, 100 copies sold, and like barely anyone has seen, and it is just the most obscure just gameplay that no person in any universe would think, you know what, this is what I'm gonna make a game about. I'm gonna make a game about stapling squirrels.
Big Game Hunter.
Yeah, and they just make it. You know, they're just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just gonna go ahead and make it, and no one's gonna stop me. And then they do, and it ends up being really fun. You know, because why not? You gotta have games like that in order to balance it out.
Yeah, and it's all that very interesting and important talking about stapling squirrels to
Of
say
course.
that like I I think that's a super interesting niche that a lot of indie games can sit themselves in
Yeah.
is delving into the more morbid or even like going into like mental health stuff too. Like
Oh yeah, definitely.
talking about indie horror got me thinking about like the RPG Maker games, which it's
Oh
like
yeah.
Oh,
is its
yeah.
own topic. We
It
we
is.
have
That
to
is
make
its
it
own
10 minutes
topic.
max in this podcast. I can't
Yep.
even go into that. But and I think it goes back to the one indie game that I wanted to talk about the most, which not to the horror aspect, but goes into like mental health and having a story be
I know
about
exactly what it is.
something.
I know what it is.
I know because I can't shut the hell up about it.
It's
I
so good.
goddamn love Celeste.
It's so
So
good.
It's
It's so good.
I played a little bit.
Oh
I haven't
man.
played all of
And
it.
it's like I want to I
It
don't I hate to
is-
just be a constantly like sunshine flowing out my anus like everything about this is perfect because of course that's not always the case, but like genuinely
It's-
if there were a
man.
game that were in my eyes close to perfection,
It's
it's
Celeste.
Celeste.
Dude, playing through Celeste is just an otherworldly experience. Like every other game I mentioned between like this episode, last Celeste is just something else. Celeste is something that I feel like every person should play at least once, just because like even if you don't like platformers, even if you don't like the pixel art style or whatever, it doesn't matter because the
Hell, even if
story
you're not
it
good at
tells
platformers,
it doesn't it doesn't exactly it doesn't even matter because the story it tells and the emotions that you will feel playing through that game, it is unparalleled. I've never had a single game affect me that much. It is I don't know what they put in that game to make it like so emotionally impactful, but it is a beautiful game. It is a work of art.
and not to really beat in my thesis here, but I'm no game developer. I couldn't even imagine being in any aspect of it, but I really think the power that Celeste has comes from the fact that it was from such a small team.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I
Like
get that.
every
bring it all back.
single aspect of the game feeds into the next. Like it's difficult as hell. It is tough as nails platforming once you get to the later stuff and the additional content. But where in some games, something like that just seems like, okay, you're just trying to pad out, content. You're trying to make me play more by just
Make it
bashing my head
absurdly
into a wall.
difficult. Yeah.
With Celeste, it's like that's the point. You climbing a mountain. Climbing's not easy.
It reminds
and-
me a lot of a short hike, but like the opposite.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Instead
because
of being calm, it's just like, no, this is a mountain. Those are big.
Yeah.
guys.
it's
But it's like-
yeah. It's so
and
good.
there's a moment in the very, very, very final DLC chapter. That's maybe a bit of spoiler territory. It depends on how much you really think about it. I don't think it's much of a spoiler, but there's this
Mhm.
point where the game gives you its final challenge. And it is this one huge room that just goes on forever. That if you fail, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. So obviously you're going to fail a lot. But after you reach a certain threshold of failures, the game will stop and it'll show you an in-game cutscene of effectively you picking yourself back up and just being like, I can do this.
Yep.
At
Oh
that
my
point in
god.
the game,
It's
At that point, like after 50 deaths in this one room, you're thinking like, I gotta quit.
like there's nothing you can do, but
Nothing, yeah.
oh my god, it just does such a good job of like actually keeping you engaged and keeping you like allowing you to actually keep going but not make it feel artificial. It all feels natural
Like,
and free flowing.
because of that like really small team, you have a lot of people that like the development, even if people have like their set things to develop on, the entire thing kind of gets muddied, and everyone's kind of like working together to make this one thing that works. And it's like that's what I really love about it. Like I could go on about the music. I'm sure that's
we need to have an
another
episode. We need to have an
podcast
episode on music. I think that's
Oh,
an entire
definitely.
episode.
Oh my god, definitely.
Like, God bless Lena Rain.
Yeah, agreed.
As much as I love the absolutely perfect platforming of Celeste, like what makes that game for me, and what I consistently go back to the most, is just the music, because it tells an entire story alongside, but like even taking it out of the context of the game, it's like you can kind of pick up on everything. I love it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah,
and it's because like Lena Rain knew what was happening in the game,
you know,
so she could make music about what was happening in the game.
Man, you're so good.
No, I granted I haven't played the game as much as probably both of you have, but like even just by playing it for like an hour or two, like it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game, and I've heard so many good things about it. I should really finish it, but I have too many other games to finish right now that I can't.
Yeah, like Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't.
You finish Celeste, then you go into Hollow Knight.
Then you just
Celeste will get you ready for like the
mental
torture of failing. Songs.
Yeah,
I know.
ironclad mental of going into Hollow Knight.
And then after all of that, you go into Valorant, and you
then
still quit because it's just not worth it.
Exactly.
No,
There we go. There we
That's
go.
right. There we go.
All right. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up for
Okay.
indie games. Any final thoughts you guys want to bring up for indie games as a whole?
If I say anything more, this podcast is gonna be 10 minutes longer. So
Okay, that's a good point. We've covered a lot when it comes to
Yeah,
indie
we've
games.
covered a lot.
So, all right, you want to move on to our final segment,
Yeah,
one could argue it's the most important segment, actually.
Probably the most important.
Yeah.
So, well, obviously we have a serial tier list. We update it every
Sure.
episode. But this episode, since we have a guest, whenever we have a guest on, we'll have them put their recommendation of any cereal onto our tier list, and
We'll put it on the
Let's do it
chopping
this way.
block. We're going to
All
chop
right.
the cereal.
Yeah, all right, Jackson. So, what is
oh
yours?
man, you sure know how to make a lady feel special. All right. I will say, first, I was looking up cereal just to get a selection of which I would like us to rate.
Yes. Yes.
And I just wanted you guys to know, there's a deal on Walmart.com right now.
Wait. Hold
55
the
cents for
presses.
Honey Nut Cheerios. And all you
Okay.
have to do is pay $42 for shipping.
I mean, that's a
Oh
steal.
my god.
That's a steal. That's basically free at that point.
You know, not to shill, but like, whew, I don't know.
That's a
I'm
deal.
thinking, soon as we wrap this podcast, I'm getting myself some cereal.
Off over to Walmart.
At 10 p.m.
At
Yeah,
10
no, that's the
PM.
best time to go.
I mean, true.
Oh,
That's
oh,
true.
okay.
Yeah.
That's true.
So is that is that the cereal you're bringing to us today, or is it a different one?
It was actually
All right,
Okay.
Honey Nut Cheerios.
a good classic.
So,
I'd
so
say.
we
Oh,
already
yeah.
have just the classic ones, right?
We already have the original Cheerios. Yes.
So,
Yeah, but
where we
those aren't.
we
Those aren't
talked
worth
about we
anything.
talked about Honey Nut a little bit when we talked
We
about
did.
Oreo
We
Cheerios.
did.
I mean, where do we put Oreo Cheerios? We put Oreo Cheerios at C, I believe, correct? And then we put Lucky Charms at B.
I'm a solid campaigner for
I
Honey
think
Nut
it's
being straight and B.
B. Wow. I was gonna say A. I was honestly gonna say A for Honey Nut. I think it's better than Lucky Charms. Honestly.
Dar, we need your opinion. You need to.
Yeah.
What do you
help
think,
us out
Dar?
here.
Okay. I still think Lucky Charms are better.
Really? You're a
Yeah,
Lucky Charm
push
Charm
I'm trying to get
enthusiast.
I'm trying to get a sponsor.
A
I'm
spon-
trying to get a
They are
sponsor.
they not made by both made by General Mills?
Oh, they are.
Are
Oh,
they?
Right? Yeah. There's
I
there's
mean,
one big parent company.
You
at
know,
this point. They're all the same person.
the cereal conglomerate. if you would.
Cereal mafia.
I think Honey Nut Cheerios either deserves
think it's
like
B?
an A or like an A+ tier, even though we don't have an A+.
We
plus,
don't
so I
have
think
any pluses or minuses.
I know,
Dar.
I
That
know,
makes it
I
more
know.
complicated.
I know.
We don't need more
But
tiers.
I just don't think it's S tier.
I don't think it's S
good,
either.
Great. It's basic. It's great.
It's
the honey-
reliable.
Yeah, it's reliable. Like I don't. It's not amazing.
I think it's
but it's great.
ever so
It's good.
slightly better than regular Cheerios. I mean, I'll be honest. I actually do prefer regular Cheerios compared to Honey Nut. Like
Really?
most of the time, I actually do really,
Really?
really like normal Cheerios. But I think. What do you mean? Why? They're good.
Honey Nut.
How dare you have a preference, first of all?
Yeah.
I
how
mean,
dare you
I
have
think,
a-
alright, but again, I know that's my take, and I know that's not the norm, and I still think like just regular Cheerios are like the perfect C tier cereal because they are just basic, like the baseline, right? Anything worse than that just goes straight under to D. Anything better than that can just go straight up to B or even above it in C. So I think, I mean, I'm fine with putting Honey Nut in B, but I also wouldn't mind it in A. So what are our thoughts here? Or you think it B or A?
My defense for B is that, at least for me, like imagine you're going to like a bed and breakfast or something.
True.
You wake up, it's just like, I need some good foods in my tummy right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Need something
You
to
definitely
start
do.
my day
Definitely
off.
do.
You go to the cereal.
The bowl? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. You go to the cereal bar. And my idea is that if you go to a cereal bar, you see like the standard, you got Fruit Loops because they're everywhere.
True.
You got like maybe Cinnamon Toast Crunch if they're bougie.
Of
If
course.
you go and you see that they have Cheerios, it's like, oh, and it's like I can't eat this, but
But you really want to,
I'm not gonna like it. You see Honey Nut Cheerios, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
a good one.
That's a reliable food. It's a reliable cereal.
Yeah.
Sure,
No. I
sure.
think.
You think B?
Yeah. I think I can go. I think we can do B tier.
B
B tier is-
above or below Lucky Charms? I know, Dar, you're going to say below, right?
Did we put Lucky Charms at B tier?
I thought so, right?
I might have not remembered.
Dar,
I'm surprised we did.
Dar,
Guys, you ranked 2 cereals.
Dar, during this segment, we have it on the screen for the YouTube viewers. We should
That's
know
true.
this.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's
I
true.
believe, I'm
No,
almost
I think
certain
it's
it's B.
being broken.
I think it's behind.
So,
I
B tier
So
behind. I think it's better than Lucky Charms. I'll be honest.
I have a bias against really sugary cereals.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
So
good
I
balance.
do think
And
that-
Jackson does have the guest buff.
Oh,
Oh well.
we're doing that. Okay.
I mean, it only makes sense, right? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
it's also his cereal. He brought it. I mean,
You,
also have an
you,
odd
you guys
number.
almost shifted my opinion to A. The reason I put it at B is because the last time I had Honey Nut Cheerios, it made my tummy feel bad and my throat close up.
Oh.
I think that might
You
be an allergy thing,
forgot to
and not a
mention.
cereal thing. But
Just casually drop that.
no,
Yeah, okay,
It's like-
yep.
But I don't mean to undermine myself, but I'm kind of a dumbass. So
yeah.
this would be in high school, and it's just like I gotta eat something for breakfast.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, Honey Nut Cheerios, and I'll go through the first 2 classes of the day, and I'll be like, oh man, it's pretty hard to breathe. That kind of sucks. And then I'll just get on with my day.
Okay. So
Sorry
B.
that happened.
So Jackson,
Yeah,
above or below Lucky Charms, Jackson. What do you think?
I very strongly believe that they're better than Lucky Charms.
I agree. That's 2 on 1, dog.
I'll be flexible today, and we'll put it. Above.
We'll put it in B for bloated throat for Jackson's
I was gonna say B
Okay.
for Honey Nut Cheerios.
for I like bunny nut bunny butt baby. So yeah,
Oh man,
this is great.
I need to get myself some Bunny Butt Bibios. You guys got me hungry again.
Episode 3 of Eats More Cereal, everybody. That
Oh,
is,
man.
yeah, I mean, that is pretty. I will say, we are at 59.5 minutes. That is
Woo!
pretty dang good
That's
for
pretty good.
for an episode. Honestly, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
only tripped up every time I spoke.
Yeah,
So
you know that's
that's a personal record for me.
that's part of a podcast. I mean, it's
Yeah,
part
that's
it's part of eating, it's part of cereal, it's part of gaming
What?
at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. All
Where-
right. Well,
yeah. Wrap it
thank
up, Dar.
you, Jackson, for coming onto the
Thank you,
podcast.
thank you.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Yeah, of course. It was a very.
It was an
fun
honor.
Discussion. Yeah, it was an honor. Yeah. But thank you to everyone who's listening, and
Yeah,
we'll see you
follow our
next-
socials.
Yeah, follow our socials.
And make sure
Twitter,
to
Instagram.
eat more cereal. Go grab yourself some
grab
bunny
cereal.
butt videos.
Whenever,
Yeah.
no
Bunny
matter
butt
what time
video.
this is uploaded,
You know,
it'll
And
be the good
why
time
not?
series.
You know, and
And
also
if you
make
ever
sure.
are taking I'm sorry.
Oh no, of course, go ahead. I don't want to
just
interrupt
wanted
the
to
guest.
say, if you ever are taking a big old bite of your bunny butt videos, just imagine that we're there eating it with you too.
True. Yeah. I honestly have nothing more to say than that.
Neither do I.
All right.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Later.
Bye.